In this lesson, I'm going to teach you something really surprising about pronunciation. In fact, over the last week, I've shown my friends this point that I'm going to teach you today, and both learners of English and native speakers have been blown away by this. They've been completely surprised. I've had people sort of practicing in front of me. And it all starts with this word, stop. It starts with a stop, which is kind of ironic. But before that, what I want to say is hello and welcome, you wonderful people, to English Right Now. My name is Roy, and I am your native British English teacher. And on this channel, we learn lots of things connected to British English, and especially about learning a modern British received pronunciation accent, a modern British RP accent. So if those things sound good to you, if you're new here, please do subscribe. And of course, remember to like, as it helps this video really to grow. So without further ado, let's talk about this surprising point. So we're going to talk about this word here. This is stop. Stop. Say it with me. Stop. Stop. Now, if you look in the Cambridge Dictionary, or in fact any dictionary, this word is usually transcribed into the phonemes like this. Stop. 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 Right? You can see it here. That's how we say it, right? Well, not quite. Because first of all, we need to talk about that second sound, that t sound. You can see in the word that letter is the letter T. T. But to really make sense of this confusing pronunciation point, we need to talk about something called aspiration. Now, when the letter T is at the start of a stressed syllable or at the start of a word, it is usually aspirated. T, t, t. So what is aspiration? Well, simply put, aspiration is like a blast of air that comes with certain sounds like p, k, and t when they come at the start of a word. So in a word like top, T-O-P, we aspirate that T. So it's t-op, top. So there is a blast of air that comes from that T with that T sound. Now, let me show you what I mean. What we need is a piece of paper. Top, top. You can see the page moving, and that's because when I say the T sound, I'm blowing air through that sound. That's aspiration. Top. On certain sounds, under certain conditions, we add that blast of air. So when we have that letter T at the start of a word, we usually pronounce it with aspiration. Top. Top. The reason I say usually is because in a word like tsunami, the T is silent, so it's not tsunami. That doesn't work at all. So normally when that T is at the start of the word, we aspirate it. T, t. If I don't aspirate it, it sounds a bit more like this. Top, top, top. So instead of top, it sounds like top, which is actually a little bit uncomfortable to say, and it does sound slightly different. Now, when a T is not at the start of a word or a stressed syllable, we normally don't aspirate it. So let me talk about one of my favorite foods, and that is chips. And chips come from potatoes. Potatoes. Potato is 3 syllables, and the stress falls on that second syllable. So it's potato, potato. So at the start of the stressed syllable, there is a T sound. That is aspirated. But at the start of the third syllable, that T isn't aspirated because it's at the start of an unstressed syllable. Now, what a lot of learners do here, and a mistake they often make, is making that last T sound more like a D sound. Potato. It's not potato, it's potato in a modern British RP accent. If I say potato, it sounds more like a general American pronunciation. So in a modern British RP accent, it's potato. The first T is aspirated because it's at the start of a stressed syllable, and the last T is unaspirated. And if you try to aspirate both T's in the word potato, it sounds a bit like this. Potato, potato. It sounds a bit strange. And while I can do it, I think it sounds better as potato. But now let's talk about that really surprising thing that relates to this word here. Stop. Stop. So we've already learnt about aspirated T and unaspirated T. And in this word, because that t is not at the start of the word, we know that it's going to be unaspirated. But something really fascinating is happening here, because that S, that S sound, has a really interesting effect on an unaspirated t that comes straight after it. Listen to the word stop. 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 If I remove the S sound from this word, you'd think it was just top, right? Well, not quite. When many native speakers say this word, they actually pronounce that t, that unaspirated t, as more like a d sound. Listen. Stop. 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 It sounds more like a dop than top. Don't believe me? Listen to this when I take away the s sound. I'll mute the s and then play the rest of the word. Stop. 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 It sounds more like dop. Dop. So when that unaspirated t sound comes after a s, it sounds more like a d. Stop. If you try to aspirate that t, it sounds like this. Stop. Stop. It doesn't sound quite right. It's stop. Stop. You can even see it when I'm editing it. Stop. 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 Now this isn't just limited to the word stop, it also happens in the word start. Start. It's not start, it's start. And in a word I taught on Instagram the other day, stable sounds more like dable with a s in front of it. Stable. And you can even see it in the middle of words as well. So in a word like mustard, mustard. So even in a word like mustard, that S mutates the t into more of a d sound. Now you could say mustard, but it sounds a bit forced. In fact, most native speakers would just say mustard. Mustard. So in this lesson, we've learnt that when t isn't at the start of a word or a stressed syllable, it's unaspirated. And when it comes after a s sound, for many native speakers, that s affects the t, the unaspirated t, to sound more like a d. So let's have a few example words that you can practice before finishing this video today. So we have stamp, stamp, steal, steal, stolen, stolen, stadium, stadium, stomach, stomach, and pasta, pasta. So remember, in English, when a t sound comes at the start of a word or a stressed syllable, it's normally aspirated. T. When it's not at the start of a word and not at the start of a stressed syllable, like the last t in potato, it is unaspirated. But when it comes immediately after a s sound, that s sound for many native speakers has an effect on the t, which makes it sound slightly more like a d sound. So stop saying stop as stop. That's just not right. If you really enjoyed this video, please do like, consider subscribing, and let me know in the comments below anything you'd like to learn in future lessons. But from me today, all it leaves me to say is thank you very much for watching this lesson. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I'll see you in the next class.